The lights above me were white and unforgiving. Not warm, not soft. The kind of white that strips everything down to bone. A machine beeped to my left, slow, annoyingly calm, like it didn't understand what had just happened. My mouth tasted like metal. My head felt packed with cotton and glass. Through the thin hospital curtain I heard my mother's voice first. Not crying, complaining. "This is a nightmare," she said, "in front of everyone." My father answered her in a low hiss. "Lower your voice. People are recording everything these days." No one asked if I was awake. No one said my name. A nurse brushed past the curtain and told them I needed rest. My mother sighed loudly, as if I were the inconvenience. Then the curtain shifted again. A man stepped in quietly. Mid-60s, dark suit, no badge, leather briefcase held close to his leg like it mattered. "Ms. Carter," he said gently. I turned my head an inch. That was all I had. "My name is Thomas Hale," he said. "I represented your grandmother." The word grandmother cut through the fog. "She asked me to come if you were ever pressured." Pressured. That was one way to describe it. He glanced at the IV, the bandage at my temple, then back at my eyes. "She left instructions," he said. "Very specific ones." I tried to speak. My throat refused. He leaned closer. "She didn't leave money to the family," he said. "She left it to the person who would eventually be blamed for saying no." Something in my chest shifted. Not relief, not safety. Recognition. Footsteps approached fast. Sharp heels. Familiar rhythm. My mother pushed through the curtain. "There you are," she said. "We were wondering who you were talking to." Her eyes flicked to the briefcase. Suspicious. Calculating. Thomas straightened. "I'll give you some space," he said calmly. "Please do," my father said, already irritated. The man nodded once at me. Just once. Then he was gone. The curtain snapped back. My father stood at the foot of the bed, arms crossed, jaw tight. He looked like he was waiting for an explanation. My mother stood beside him, smoothing her sleeve. Perfect hair, perfect lipstick. I stared at the ceiling. If you've ever had family treat you like you don't matter, like you're only valuable when you're useful, you already know where this is going. If you've ever been the one expected to carry the weight quietly, this story is for you. Stick around. Subscribe. Because the part they never expect is when you stop. My father cleared his throat. "You caused a scene," he said. "Straight to it." My mother nodded. "Your brother is humiliated." I blinked slowly. Each movement hurt. "He announced my money," I said. "Publicly." My mother waved her hand. "Don't twist this." Everyone knew it was coming. Knew. That word again. My father leaned closer. His voice dropped. "You embarrassed us in front of investors. Investors. Not daughter. Not blood. Just damage." I said no, I said. The words came out flat. Calm. Too calm for them. My mother's lips thinned. "You didn't have to say it like that. Like what? Like you wanted to hurt him?" I laughed once. It scraped my throat. That wasn't the sound of humor my father snapped. That was the sound of disrespect. That was the second something in me snapped. I turned my head and looked at my mother. "Do you remember," I said slowly, "when I worked double shifts to cover his first semester?" She frowned. "That was years ago. And his car," I asked, "and his rent, and the temporary transfers that never came back." My father slammed his palm lightly against the bed rail. Not hard, just enough to assert himself. "This is not the time," he said. It never was. My mother sighed and sat down, crossing her legs carefully. "You're emotional," she said. "You hit your head. Gaslight. Clean. Polished. I was emotional before today," I said. "You just didn't mind it then." She stiffened. My father reached into his jacket and pulled out a folder. "We're trying to fix this," he said, placing it on the tray table. "Sign this, and we can smooth everything over." The paper slid toward me with a soft scrape. "Power of attorney." I didn't touch it. "I'm not signing anything," I said. My mother's voice sharpened instantly. "Don't be dramatic. Don't be desperate," I said. Her eyes flashed. "You're confused," she said. "You need guidance." "I needed guidance when I was 19, I said. "You needed money." My father's face darkened. "You wouldn't have anything without this family," he said. I met his stare. "And you wouldn't have built half of it without me." Silence. Real silence this time. In the hallway, I heard my brother's voice, loud, pacing. "She always does this," he said. "She thinks she's better than everyone." My mother stood abruptly. "You see," she said, "he's under so much pressure." I closed my eyes for one beat. Then I said, "Get out." She blinked. "What get? Out!" My father scoffed. "This is our daughter." "This is my room," I said, "and I'm done." They stood there weighing how far they could push before someone noticed. My mother grabbed her purse. "We raised you better than this," she said. Then she paused at the curtain, turned back. Her voice dropped, cold, precise. "If you lose your family over this," she said, "don't pretend you don't deserve it." The curtain snapped shut. The machine kept beeping. Steady, unbothered. I stared at the ceiling and realized something terrifying and freeing at the same time. They weren't afraid of losing me. They were afraid of losing control. And for the first time in my life, I let them. I didn't realize I was being used at first. No one ever does. It starts small, quiet, reasonable. I was 13 when my parents first said I was mature for my age. They said it like praise. They said it when they handed me responsibility instead of protection. At 14, I learned the hotel's reservation system faster than the adults. At 15, I covered shifts when managers called out. At 16, I stopped asking permission and started asking what needed fixing. "You're dependable," my father said once, not looking up from his laptop. That was affection in our house. Ryan never learned the system. No one asked him to. He learned how to charm, how to laugh loud, how to fail without consequences. When he forgot homework, my mother called the school. When I forgot to eat, no one noticed. I worked evenings at the hotel desk, weekends at the bar during events. Tips went into an envelope I kept in my drawer. I counted them at night, neat stacks, fingers smelling like citrus cleaner and old bills. I had plans: community college, a used car, independence. Then Ryan turned 16. My mother called me into the office one afternoon. Sunlight cut through the blinds in harsh stripes. "Your brother needs confidence," she said. She slid my envelope across the desk. I stared at it. "Confidence?" I asked. "A car," she said. "Just until he finds his footing." I watched him drive it that same night. Red paint, loud engine, music too high. He waved once, didn't thank me. That was the first withdrawal. After that, the withdrawals came faster. Tuition gaps, emergency rent, networking trips that could change everything. Every time I hesitated, my father used the same sentence: "Family invests in its future." I invested. They withdrew. By 19, I had 2 jobs and no savings. By 21, I was paying for things that didn't have my name on them. Ryan's college acceptance letter came with a number printed in bold. My father read it at breakfast. "You're already working," he said. "Cover the first semester." I transferred the money before class started. Ryan posted photos from the beach. I ate ramen standing up in the kitchen between shifts. When he joined a fraternity, the dues were non-negotiable. When I asked about my own classes, my mother smiled. "You can go part-time," she said. "This is temporary." Temporary lasted years. I learned to scrub floors at midnight without flinching. I learned to sleep in short bursts. I learned to stop expecting thanks. Ryan learned how to pitch ideas. At dinner, he talked about startups and disruption. My father leaned in, interested for the first time all evening. "Vision," my father said, proud. I cleared plates. When Ryan needed seed money for a prototype, my father didn't ask me directly. He cornered me by the ice machine. "Servers cost money," he said. "You've got some left, right." I logged into my bank app under fluorescent lights. The balance dropped to 0. Ryan high-fived someone. My name never came up. That was the third something in me snapped. Not loud, just a dull internal sound like a lock turning. I stopped thinking of money as mine. It wasn't allowed to be. I was the buffer, the cushion, the silent solution. At family events, Ryan stood in the center. My parents flanked him like proud bookends. I stood behind holding a clipboard or a purse or someone else's coat. Once during a photo shoot for the hotel brochure, the photographer frowned. "Can you step aside?" he asked me. "For balance." My father nodded. "She handles operations." I smiled for the camera anyway. I learned how to smile without teeth. By the time Ryan graduated, everyone talked about his potential like it was already proven. Like the years I'd covered were just warm-up costs. No one remembered the transfers. No one remembered the nights I skipped meals. They remembered outcomes. They remembered his name. I remembered every receipt. The realization came one morning before sunrise. I was standing ankle-deep in wet sand behind the hotel, watching the lights still on from overnight cleaning. I wasn't family. I was infrastructure. I was useful because I didn't complain, because I didn't demand, because I didn't say no. They trained me that way. Every compliment came with a task. Every "we're proud of you" came after I paid for something. Love was conditional. Access was earned through sacrifice. And sacrifice, they taught me, was my role. By the time Ryan stepped onto that stage with a microphone in his hand, the pattern was complete. He wasn't asking for money. He was collecting. Because to them, I wasn't a daughter. I was a resource. And resources once tapped are expected to keep flowing. The room smelled like cheap champagne and hot lights. Graduation banners hung crooked along the walls, school colors stretched thin from being reused year after year, folding chairs packed tight, phones already out, everyone ready to capture a moment worth posting. Ryan loved moments like this. He stood near the stage gown, half-zipped, pacing with the microphone in his hand, like it belonged there, like it had always belonged to him. My parents sat front row, smiling, relaxed. My mother's hands folded neatly in her lap. My father checking his watch, already thinking about who needed to see this later. I took a seat 3 rows back, alone, where I usually sat. The dean droned through names. Applause rose and fell, caps tossed, parents cried, cameras flashed. Then Ryan's name was called. The room got louder than it had for anyone else. He climbed the steps fast, confidence spilling out of him. He shook hands, turned to the mic before the applause even died down. He didn't look at me at first. Before I accept this, he said, voice bright, practiced, "I just want to say something." My stomach tightened. My father leaned forward, interested. Ryan smiled wide. None of this would have been possible without family. Applause. He scanned the room. Found me. There's someone here who's believed in me from day one, he said. My sister. Heads turned. Dozens of them. Maybe hundreds. My mother glanced back at me, eyes sharp warning. Ryan continued, emboldened by the attention. She's always had my back, he said. And now she's backing my next chapter, too. I stood up before he said the number, before he made it sound inevitable. No, I said. It wasn't loud. But it landed. The word cut through the room like glass on tile. Ryan laughed. Short, disbelieving. You're kidding, he said into the mic. I shook my head once. I'm not. The applause died fast. Whispers rushed in to replace it. My father stood. This isn't the place, he said, his voice carrying just enough to sound reasonable. Ryan's smile tightened. Come on, he said. Don't do this. You already did, I said. My mother stood next. She always moved after my father, never before. Sweetheart, she said, smiling like she was calming a child, we talked about this. No, they talked at me about this. Ryan leaned closer to the mic. My sister has access to a family trust, he said, and she's agreed to fund my startup, $1.2 million. The number hit the room like a dropped tray. Gasps, murmurs, phones lifted higher. My father stepped onto the stage folder in hand. Sign the commitment, he said, low but urgent. Now. He held the paper out to me like a leash. I didn't take it. You didn't ask, I said. You announced. Ryan's face flushed. This was understood, he snapped. You've never had a problem before. That was the fourth something in me snapped. I've had a problem for years, I said. You just never listened. The dean shifted uncomfortably behind us. Security glanced at each other, unsure. My mother hissed my name. You're humiliating him. No, I said. I'm embarrassing you. Ryan stepped off the stage toward me, too close, too fast. You owe me, he said through his teeth. I paid you, I said, over and over. His hands hit my shoulders hard, not a shove, a grab. The world tilted. My heel caught on the edge of the stage. Metal scraped. The mic stand tipped. Pain exploded white behind my eyes. The sound came later. Screams, shouts. Someone yelling, "Oh my God." I tasted blood. Phones were everywhere now, not lowering, zooming in. Ryan stood frozen for half a second. Then he raised his hands. "It was an accident," he said loudly. "She fell." My father grabbed his arm. "Control yourself," he muttered. My mother rushed forward, eyes wide, voice sharp. "Get up," she said. "You're fine." I tried. My body refused. Security pushed through. Someone called 911. Someone else said I got it all on video. Ryan backed away, shaking his head. "She always does this," he said. "She makes everything dramatic." That was the moment I stopped seeing him as my brother. He wasn't scared for me. He was scared for himself. Paramedics knelt beside me, hands gentle, voices steady. "Don't move," one said. My mother hovered. "Can you hurry this up?" she asked. "People are watching." The words barely registered. I stared at the ceiling lights above the stage, blinding, indifferent. As they lifted me onto the stretcher, my father leaned close. "You didn't have to ruin everything," he said. I laughed weakly. "You ruined it years ago," I whispered. The sirens swallowed the rest. Later in the ambulance, as the doors slammed shut and the noise faded, one thought stayed sharp and clear. They didn't break me on that stage. They exposed themselves, and they did it in front of everyone. The hospital room smelled like antiseptic and burnt coffee. Night had settled in, the kind that presses against the windows and makes everything feel smaller. The hallway lights were dimmed, voices lowered, drama contained. My parents weren't allowed back in. That wasn't my decision. That was hospital policy. I lay still, ribs wrapped tight, head stitched, watching the door like it might betray me. A soft knock came just after midnight. Then the door opened. Thomas Hale stepped inside again. Same suit, same briefcase, calm like gravity. He closed the door behind him. "They're furious," he said, setting the briefcase down. "That's usually how this part starts." I swallowed. "What part?" "The part where they realize they can't bully paperwork." He pulled a chair closer, opened the briefcase, and laid out folders with practiced precision. "No rush, no drama." "Your grandmother was a careful woman," he said. "She didn't trust affection. She trusted patterns." He slid the first document toward me. A trust summary, my name printed clean at the top. She noticed early, he continued. "How often you paid. How rarely you received." I stared at the page. Numbers, dates, footnotes. She tracked everything he said. Transfers, timing, pressure. He opened another folder. "Your trust activates fully at 27, he said. "Valuation is significantly higher than your family assumes." I laughed once. Bitter. Weak. "They already tried to take it," I said. "Yes," he replied. "She predicted that." That was the fifth something in me snapped. Not pain, not anger. A kind of cold clarity. He pulled out a single page. Yellowed slightly at the edges. Handwritten. "She left this note," he said. "For you." I recognized the handwriting immediately. Tight loops, sharp slants. If you're reading this, it means they pushed too far. My throat closed. They always do. Thomas watched my face carefully. "She included an anti-coercion clause," he said. "Any attempt to force control nullifies access automatically." "So the paper my father brought worthless," he said. "Legally radioactive, actually." I exhaled slowly. "They won't stop," I said. "No," he agreed. "They escalate." As if summoned by the word, my phone buzzed on the side table. Unknown number, then another, and another. I didn't answer. Thomas didn't look surprised. "They'll try a different angle," he said. "Concern, mental health, protection, gaslight, but with a judge." He opened another folder. "Your grandmother also prepared for that." Inside were emails, old, dated years back, subject lines blunt, unsentimental. If they attempt guardianship, if they claim incapacity, if they say she's unstable. My stomach turned. "She collected evidence," he said, "long before today." He slid over bank statements, lines highlighted in red, shell companies, offshore accounts, money siphoned slowly, quietly, for decades. "They've been diverting royalties from your grandmother's original licensing work," he said, "since before you were born." I stared at the figures, the totals, the time span. "This isn't desperation," I whispered. "No," he said. "It's habit." A knock rattled the door. Then my mother's voice, sharp and too sweet. "Elena, honey, we need to talk." Thomas stood. "I'll handle this," he said. He opened the door just enough to block the view. "You're not authorized," he said calmly. "She's my daughter," my mother snapped. "And she's my client," Thomas replied. "You can speak through counsel." My father's voice rose behind her. "This is ridiculous!" She hit her head. "She's not thinking clearly." Thomas didn't flinch. "Any further contact tonight will be documented," he said. "Choose carefully." The door shut. Silence returned thicker this time. "They're filing something I said." "Yes," he replied. "Probably emergency guardianship." I closed my eyes. "I'm tired," I said. "I know," he said. "But this is where you stop reacting and start deciding." He slid one final document toward me. "Do you want to press charges for the assault?" The word hung there. Heavy. "Yes," I said. No hesitation. That was the sixth something in me snapped. The next week moved like a controlled burn. Court filings, police reports, statements. My parents' concern hardened into strategy. They filed for guardianship 3 days later, claimed I was unstable, impulsive, influenced, attached medical notes taken out of context. Thomas countered within hours. Forensic accounting, handwriting analysis, email chains. The courtroom was cold. Wood polished to a mirror shine. My parents sat together, united, familiar. I sat beside Thomas, alone, grounded. The judge listened, didn't interrupt. When Thomas presented my grandmother's contingency letter, the room shifted. When the financial expert testified, my father stopped making eye contact. When the handwriting analyst spoke, my mother's hands began to shake. The judge leaned forward. "This is not incapacity," she said. "This is resistance. Gavel down. Guardianship denied. An investigation ordered." My parents didn't look at me as we left. They didn't need to. Everything they'd built on silence had collapsed. Outside, cameras waited. Thomas guided me past them. "Phase 1, he said quietly. I stepped into the sunlight, blinking. For the first time, the future felt unfamiliar. Not frightening, just open. My grandmother had built walls before I knew I'd need shelter. She didn't leave me money. She left me an exit. And for the first time in my life, I took it. The silence afterward was louder than the fight. No more calls, no more late-night voicemails that started with, "We're worried about you." No more messages sent through cousins who didn't want to be involved but wanted updates. Just quiet. The court moved faster than I expected. Not dramatic, procedural, efficient, like a machine that had finally been switched on. Auditors went first, then subpoenas. Then letters written in language my parents had always used against other people. Formal, polite, devastating. The hotel's accounts were frozen pending review. Contracts paused. Vendors stopped returning calls. My father's name disappeared from committees he'd sat on for years. My mother stopped attending luncheons. Invitations dried up quietly the way social capital always does, without explanation. Ryan tried once. He sent a message from a new number. "Can we talk?" This got out of hand. I stared at the screen for a long time. Then I blocked it. That was the seventh something in me that snapped. The last thread. 6 months later, the truth settled in like dust. The hotel was sold, not ceremonially, not proudly, at auction. My parents moved into a smaller place across town. No view, no staff, no buffer. Ryan's startup never launched. Servers seized. Backers vanished. The pitch deck stopped circulating. He took a job driving deliveries at night. I saw him once at a gas station. He didn't recognize me at first. I didn't wave. I didn't need to. I changed my name quietly. Took my grandmother's last name. No announcement. No explanation. It felt like setting down a weight I didn't realize I'd been carrying. The trust activated without ceremony. No balloons, no applause, just documents, numbers, clean transfers. I didn't buy anything extravagant. I rented a small apartment with light that came in from the side, not the front. I bought a table that didn't wobble. I slept for 12 hours straight the first night and woke up without dread for the first time in years. Thomas checked in once a month at first, then less, then not at all. That's how safety works. It fades into the background. I started the foundation quietly. No press release, just applications. Young women, single parents, first-generation coders, people who'd learned early how to carry too much. I funded tuition, childcare, laptops, time. I went to the first orientation and stood in the back of the room, no speech, no introduction. I watched one girl clutch her acceptance letter like it might disappear. I watched another blink fast, fighting tears, when she realized the money didn't come with conditions. That was when I understood what my grandmother had really done. She didn't build a trust. She built a boundary. My mother sent a birthday card eventually. No return address. Just my name written carefully like it might reject her ink. "I hope you're well," she wrote. We did our best. I folded it once and put it away. I didn't respond. People ask sometimes if I regret it, if I miss them, if it was worth losing my family. I think about the hospital room. The folder slid toward me. The way my mother said, "If you lose everything, remember this was your choice." She was right about one thing. It was my choice. And for the first time, it was actually mine. I didn't win. I didn't destroy them. I didn't even fight very hard. I just stopped explaining, stopped transferring, stopped absorbing. I stepped out of the role they assigned me, and without someone to lean on, they collapsed under their own weight. That wasn't revenge. That was gravity. Now, when my phone clicks off at night, there's no dread, no waiting for the next demand, no calculating what silence will cost me. Just quiet, clean, unnegotiated. I don't belong to anyone anymore. And that finally feels like freedom.